In an article on acmi.net, Hollow Knight co-directors William Pellon and Ari Gibson talk about their principles when designing the world of its follow-up, Silksong. Pellon specifically cites the ever-present influence of the Citadel as a key guide when drawing out the land of Farloom. He says, "We're thinking about the Citadel at the top of the world and what's around it, what you'd expect to find, where that could lead you, and who you might find there. What might they ask you to do? And if you did do it, what would that mean? And where would that leave you? Onwards and upwards." The residents of a grand, breaking land set out on a pilgrimage. In this land, the highest power is sequestered up high in a gilded, golden citadel. Ascend, achieve salvation. The impulse to do so, the motivation to carry on, fueled by fanaticism. This journey is long and arduous, and there's a cost to it. Basic services, including the ability to rest, are paid for with rosary beads, the currency of this religion. The cost of progress is blood. To achieve forward momentum, one has to endure, to fail, to try again, to pay a constant penance. Now the road ahead is marked by fellow travellers. Some simply taking a break, still hopeful, still going. Some less fortunate. Maybe the powers up top aren't what they seem. Farloom, a fantasy world, nominally removed from our own, may not be as far away as it seems. Why do they do it? Why do we do it? Why endure the struggle? Belief? Faith? Devotion? Hi, I'm Andrew. Welcome to Dialogue Tree. This is episode 21. Noble Bugs. 3 conversations about Hollow Knight, Silksong. Welcome to the show. Whether it's the game of the year or not, or whether you even like it or not, Hollow Knight Silksong, where it came from, how it released, and what it means going forward, is the gaming story of the year. A tiny independent studio that spent 7 years making a sprawling, dense, crushingly difficult game in the shadow of fevered anticipation from every audience within gaming that then crashed every storefront it dropped on. Silksong is unique. It is a moment. Now, at the time of writing, about a week and a half after release, the reviews for Silksong are coming in. They are pretty positive, with one interesting through line. There's specific elements of the game that are lauded as both positive and negative. Aspects that both define its story, themes and gameplay for better and for worse. I will come to that. One of the natural side effects of a game not being available to reviewers before release is that the narrative can be shaped entirely by the players. We're all in on this journey together, all entering Moss Grove and starting that ascent simultaneously. Appropriately, the game is a journey into the unknown, a search for answers, a harsh and unforgiving climb, littered with setbacks, shortcuts, dead ends, and constant questions. Today, one game, 3 players, 3 perspectives. First, Margot.
Hi, I'm Margot and I write a Substack called Margot Plays, where I write reviews of mostly indie games I've played on my Steam Deck, and I also add some commentary on the wider gaming industry, such as thinking about the gamer identity or going to video game events.
Margot is a UK-based Women in Games ambassador and is a self-described coffee-fueled gamer, sharing gaming content and her journey through the industry. She does this through her blog, Margot Plays. That is a great and very chill read, and we're going to talk more about that later. I started reading it a while ago, only later realising that Margot and I were both members of a popular gaming Discord. So I reached out to Margot, and she was kind enough to offer her time. Here's what we talked about. Margot, hi, thanks for coming on the show. First of all, how are you? How was your weekend?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I've been following the podcast for like a little while, and I love the connecting of stories and video games and a lot bigger life events around it. So I've been really excited to speak to you. And yeah, I'm good. I've had a busy week, like everyone, playing Silksong, which is something we'll talk about, and that's consumed my life. So chores and everything are being left behind. But yeah, looking forward to chatting more about that.
I know the feeling well. Yes. So we are here to talk about one particular game. But before we get to that, I think we should talk a little bit about who you are and what you do, like where you're coming from in approaching this game.
Yes.
So, as you say, you run a blog, you write a Substack called Margot Plays, where you cover sort of your life as a gamer. Could you tell us a little bit about the blog and like how you came around to it, sort of what are your aims for it?
Yeah, so I started the blog nearly a year ago, so my anniversary is at the end of October.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And the idea behind it was that it's a bit of a gamer journal kind of diary for myself, but also a way of putting myself out there in a what I felt like safe way to meet other gamers and find a community, really, because I've been mostly gaming on my own for the last couple of years, and looking at what's out there and speaking to more people was kind of like important to me, what I was looking for. So that's helped me do that. And I also like the idea of game journaling and having a bit of a record of what I've played and enjoyed and talking to people about that.
What was your experience of gaming like before the blog? What was it that led you to decide on sort of journaling it now?
So I grew up gaming, really. So I had a Game Boy very early on and a Mega Drive, and it's always been something part of like what I did. I was a very quiet, introverted child, so gaming was something that I enjoyed, and it was sort of a safe space to just be myself or engage in stories in a different way. I was also a big reader. But I actually also fell into the gaming industry straight out of uni. So I'm actually bilingual. I'm also German, as well as like speaking English reasonably fluently, I hope. And out of uni, I needed a job. So I discovered that there was a linguistics localization like company nearby, and I applied and I did well, and started working there on games of all sorts, like on PS3 at the time, so that might give you a bit of a time scale of when it was. And you know, I got to add to localizations of like awesome games like Fallout 3, but also Peppa Pig on the Wii. So it was a big, big range. And I, of course, didn't think this was a real job, but I met someone that said, no, of course it's a real job, so you should look into it more and look into software testing and functional testing. So I continued down that path and actually ended up working for Disney for a little while. And That's probably my biggest claim to fame for a certain generation, that I worked on Club Penguin. That might mean something to people.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, you won't find a Margot anywhere on the credits or anything like that. That's my gaming alias. But maybe one day I will reveal who I am, but it's not that big of a deal. But actually that experience ruined gaming for me for a little bit, because I was constantly looking at things with the lens of like, what is wrong? What is not good for the users? And I have this distinct memory of visiting my cousin in Germany, and we were playing like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, one of the two, I don't know which one. And it was in German. And I was just losing my mind because the text was overlapping, the translation didn't make sense, and it was just really ugly with the text everywhere. And that's actually when I put the controller down for a while. And then I came back to it in adulthood. So 2011 was a big year with Skyrim and Red Dead coming out, and those games really grabbed me. And then later on, things like Horizon Zero Dawn had a big impact on me because it had a story mode. And I know we'll talk a bit about difficulty, but actually the story mode is what got me back into gaming and looking at games in a different way for the story rather than the like mechanism of beating something up or, you know, being a good gamer in quotation marks. So the Horizon Zero Dawn games really grabbed me. I love the narrative and the ability to play it, even being a bad gamer for third-person RPGs, because my love is for the 2D side scrollers. So that's why I really fell into like the whole of like Hollow Knight and those games. Even though they were difficult, I persevered. Whereas if it's a 3D JRPG with a massive open world, I just go, nope, I can't read maps, I can't fight.
It's too much.
It's just too overwhelming
too much
for me.
Yeah.
So I guess I had a bit of a like up and down journey through video gaming, but it really what got kick-started with the Steam Deck purchase in 2024. So that being able to handheld game again, had that nostalgic feel from holding the Game Boy for the first time to me, being on the sofa or wherever, taking it traveling and not thinking like, oh, I wish I had access to my PC or my console. I have it right there in my hand. The Switch didn't do that for me for some reason. I think it was the ergonomics. And I found the ergonomics much better on the Steam Deck, and there's like literally hardly a day a week where I don't pick it up for at least something. So yeah, the Steam Deck, I owe a lot of gaming and indie gaming to.
Wow, thanks for that. I had no idea that you had such a long and like varied career in the games industry, and that's interesting. That it's handheld gaming that but when you're a child and then an adult, that's the thing that brought you into it, and also that's a great advert for accessibility in games, for accessibility settings, that you're someone who was out of gaming but got pulled back by that. Yeah, what was working at Disney like?
Interesting. I mean,
I bet.
So it was actually like a Canadian subsidiary that was bought by Disney. So Club Penguin was its own thing, and then Disney bought them and put the brand on it and things like that. And we were actually in an office in Brighton, so that was the European headquarters. I mean, headquarters sounds grand. It wasn't.
It's an English office.
Yes, a very 70s English office.
Yeah,
with the sticky carpets. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, I was a lot younger, so we were in the centre of town, so it was also a very social environment, and a very happy environment generally. Of course, we had deadlines, and it was project-based, which, release date this day, or the marketing material's gone out, we have to hit that date. So, I remember when we went live properly with the German version, it was a shift of like 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. was one person, 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. was another person. And we divided things up like that to make sure there was enough cover to check everything, to make sure, we fix any bugs very quickly and things like that. So, yeah, no, it was exciting. It was a good team.
With what you were saying about that story you had about Tony Hawk, yeah, it just speaks to how the closer you are to something, the harder it is to find consistent enjoyment in it. You do have to step back.
Yes.
And sometimes, yeah, if you have a professional relationship to something, that can sort of ruin the innocent enjoyment of it. How long was that sort of break from gaming that you had?
It was close to 10 years, I would say.
Really?
On and off. I mean, there was the odd thing that would grab me, or I'd pick Skyrim up again, because Skyrim is one of those games that I played for probably 200 hours, but never completed the main story. I just did all the side quests, and I never saw the final ending. So I didn't actually play that final storyline until 2023, and the game had been out 12 years.
Wow. Skyrim seems to be just this generational nexus point. It seems to be such an important thing for so many people. I've never played it. I really feel like I should. The fact that you can play it on your toaster now is there's kind of no excuse. Okay, well that's on my to-do list now officially. Thank you very much for all that. That's very interesting to hear where you're coming from, your history with gaming up to this point. So yeah, to bring it back to your blog, there's quite a lot I like about it, and those are things that sort of give it its identity. I like the variety. of posts. Like you do reviews, like write-ups of events that you go to, your thoughts on like various aspects of gaming, your play diaries of certain games. And I like the positivity of it.
Oh, thank you.
Like, well, you don't bring any like preconceptions to any game that you play. That, in tandem with the fact that it feels like a journey, like you're taking the reader like on like your journey through gaming, like you're discovering things for the first time. I think that's like a key aspect of like why it's like such a good read. Is that something you like consciously aim for?
No, it wasn't a conscious decision, to be honest. I think it just happened. So I used to blog a lot about other hobbies I had, like knitting and sewing, and I think I've always explored things from like a point of wonder and appreciation of like creativity. And actually when I discovered indie games like as a thing, like I just knew gaming as these big AAA games really on on the PlayStation consoles. And when I discovered more of these indie games and that there's a whole community around it, I just got really inspired. It's like going to museums for me, booting up a new game and seeing how gaming has been reinvented or a genre has been changed a little bit to offer a new experience. And I think, I that approach of wonderment and just generally appreciation of the craft has kind of come natural, and I guess that's kind of what you're reading and seeing in it. Maybe it's just a personality trait. I don't know.
It's a good trait to have. No, I love that. Like I like to think that this show sort of like goes for the same kind of thing. I do find it hard to be like too down on like any game, no matter like what it throws at me or whatever like perceived weaknesses it has, because the fact that these things exist in the first place is kind of just feels like a miracle. Yes. Like any like entertainment we can get from it is like is a win to me. So yeah, that's just wanted to say that about your blog. It's something I really appreciate about the writing of it. Another thing is how like I like that you play a range of difficult games, but you never really you don't make the difficulty of it like a big sort of like part of your writing about it, which is refreshing, because that's a like thing that people really focus on, usually like in a sort of negative context. So, and that brings us to Hollow Knight. Now, I couldn't find one. You don't have a review of Hollow Knight on your blog, but it does get mentioned in a few posts.
Yes.
And from like those little breadcrumbs, those little clues, I did get the sense that you went all in on this game and that you might have played it for quite a long time. Is that the case?
Yes.
What was your experience with Hollow Knight?
No, it really is. I mean, if I just start at the beginning, when I got the Steam Deck, I first got the Ori games. The two, Blind Forest and Will of the Wisps, and consumed those in very quick succession. And I actually went and Googled, what is this type of game? I want to play more of this type of game. And I came across the term Metroidvania. Like,
oh wow.
Any list you look at has Hollow Knight at the top as the Metroidvania to play. So obviously I went, well, I have to play that if that is the best. So I started to play Hollow Knight, and I did struggle in the beginning, like a lot of people, like what is the point? Like, and that's by design. You're kind of dropped in there, you can't speak, you don't really know what you are, you don't know why you're there, what has happened to the world. And it's that push to like go explore and find out. But I think some people really struggle with that structure. Now I put my hand up, I watched a lot of like hints and tips and tricks, and I also had to watch the odd like how do you beat this boss video.
Yeah. Don't worry, I've done that as well. This is a safe space.
Yes. And because Hollow Knight doesn't have a difficulty setting, so you just have to play it how it was designed, which can be a good thing. And I do think that difficulty with that mix of Metroidvania and Souls-like genre actually works and tries to do something different. And if they were to include a difficulty setting, it might actually diminish that Souls-like element a little bit, just from my only other experience really is Elden Ring. So just comparing that element. So yeah, I then did fall into that world. You know, it's 2D, side-scrolling, it's beautiful, it's got a bit of like a dark, gothic-y vibe, which, you know, plays to my teenage self. And I'm talking about nostalgia. And I really just wanted to know what happens. And the fact that some boss fights take a little while and you have the run backs, you know, that is a bit frustrating, but at the same time, you're kind of forced to problem solve. And, you know, this is something I've done all my life in my job as well. Analyze things, problem solving. That's like at the core of what I do day to day. So I think that's kind of what I enjoyed bringing to that game.
I'm guessing you've played some more Metroidvanias since. Are there any particular ones that stand out to you? Where does Hollow Knight rank amongst those for you?
Yeah, I mean, Hollow Knight is a top one, even if you just look at like hours put in. Yes, it's also reasonably big, but it's got that draw, you know, oh, I'll just pick it up for 15 minutes. Maybe I'll find a secret. You know, you don't have to beat a boss, but you know that exploring will pay off and you'll find something that you haven't seen before. So in that sense, it's like probably my top favorite. Others I've played that play with the genre a little bit. I think this is right. It's like Dead Cells, so it's more of a roguelike with those Metroidvania elements. At least in my interpretation. I know some of these genre talks can also get interesting. And trying to think of other ones now, but I didn't create a list, so I'm not sure. Maybe that's a list I should write about.
Well, there you go. That's another post.
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Well, with all that in mind, so how do you feel about Silksong to the point that you're at? Are there any aspects of the game that you feel have been improved from Hollow Knight? Is there anything you feel that is worse?
Yeah, so I was a bit nervous, to be honest, to be a day one player, simply because of how much I lent on the wider community to complete Hollow Knight. And there's still bits. I haven't 112%ed it, so there's still bits for me to do. So I was a bit nervous, but actually I just thought, why not? I'll jump in. And it's really suited me, interestingly. So the moveset and the way the character fights, like Hornet fights, is really suited me as a player. So I'm a bit more twitchy, a bit more hack and slashy, whereas the Knight in Hollow Knight felt a lot more blocky in his movement. So I think that's been an experience improvement for myself. I also think for the average player, the start is a lot better. So it draws you in more, it sets the scene better. We know why, we don't know why exactly Hornet is captured, so that's just the opening sequence. I try not to give any spoilers. And we know what her motivation is and where she wants to go next. So she wants to go up. So naturally you try and find a way up and you might explore that way. So I thought that was really clever, and they introduced these side missions. And I actually find the side missions also useful for when you're a bit stuck or a bit like tired from beating a boss. I go and check if there's a new side mission, and they seem to pop in here and there, like maybe because I've done something else somewhere else. I haven't quite seen a reason why something pops in, but it gives you something else to focus on that's reasonably achievable most of the time, and then you get that little hit again of like, yay, I've done a thing. So I think that's been really clever. I personally have loved Act 1. Some of the difficulties people had, I weirdly haven't had. I've loved her moveset, even when like some people struggled with the down pogo movement, because initially she's diagonal. My brain just clicked. I don't know what happened. I was like, this is amazing. Oh, I can do any pogoing of everything. And it really, really clicked for me. So I like flew through Act 1 like reasonably easily.
Wow.
But
you're one of the blessed few who adjusted to the diagonal dive. Well done.
I just have a weird brain, I think. But that's all suited me really well. And I don't use the diagonal anymore. I think that's worth pointing out.
That's telling. That's telling, yeah.
There are better ways of navigating later on. But yeah, I love the artwork. I think the character design has been really interesting, like having the protagonist that speaks, and she's you even see her grow. So the way she like interacts with people, the way she is also quite direct. So maybe that speaks to my Germanness that, you know, I can relate. Like, yeah, that's how people should talk to each other.
Yeah, to the point.
To the point. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to give any dialogue away. So yeah, it's that I've really enjoyed it so far. But there's obviously areas, just like Hollow Knight, where you get a bit stuck. You have a longer run back to a boss, but I felt like this is a very early movement you get, which is the sprinting. That solved a lot of those sins for me, like from the first game. It's just so much easier. And once you know the route, you can be back there in seconds. You don't have to fight all the enemies, which is something I learned in Elden Ring. You don't have to fight them, just run past them, get the good loot, get back out.
Yeah. That has been key for me as well. Yes, I completely agree with everything you said there. Like the on ramp to the game is it's kind of like, well, the enemies are harder. So in theory, the on ramp should be harder, and it is. But because you are more mobile, because you are more, you just have more at your disposal. That's what makes it easier. And that's kind of that's been something consistent throughout the game as it's gone on. I found that while, you know, everything escalates, you are so empowered with your with like various moves and your tools and different like the abilities that you can spec out. Like there's so much more variety in this that's sanded off a bit of like the punishing nature of this game, because you are powerful. You're like, your character is like feels equal to the challenge, and it's just up to you to you know, like internalize the patterns to like get the rhythm of particular encounters. I'm glad you said all that, because the next point I had was, there's been this consistent sort of through line in most of the discourse around the game. That's like the world and the sound design are excellent, which they really are. Hornet's moveset is great, and that the game is funny. I really think it is like pretty funny. It's like, especially Hornet and her interactions with people. It has like a personality that Hollow Knight kind of didn't. Hollow Knight was really you know, quite a dour game by design, and it sort of held your arm's length the whole time. But yeah, the last thing the one like consistent thing through all the discourse on it is that it's way too hard, with specific focus on something you mentioned, the run backs. So with all that in mind, like, what is your assessment of the difficulty of the game? Would you say it's is it too hard? Is it too punishing? What is your sort of take on how Team Cherry have designed the game?
Yeah, so I think I was a bit taken aback that I had this like, or still do have this opinion that especially Act 1 I found in quotation marks easy. And I was a bit shocking.
Amazing, like, well done.
It's like seeing people in like talking about certain areas and bosses. I'm like, I don't even remember that boss because it was such an inconsequential fight. Because I tried twice and it was done and I was through. So I felt a bit like, oh, am I playing it wrong? Like, what is happening here?
Am I supposed to be struggling?
Well, because I am not a good gamer by any chance. Like, you know, I haven't completed Elden Ring and I've got hundreds of hours in it because I just can't do the bosses. Same with like Hollow Knight. My playtime is very high because I take a long time to complete a thing. I'm just very stubborn, so I will get there. And I guess it can be frustrating if it doesn't click, but it just clicked with me. And even a couple of the runbacks that were mentioned, like there's a horrible run back towards the end of Act 1, but I just loved it. Just the platforming, the getting around the boss, like not bosses, the little enemies, to not engage them, to just get through very quickly. I just liked that challenge and almost like reveled in it a little bit. So it became a different experience rather than a slog. And don't get me wrong, I spent several evenings in that area trying to beat that boss. It wasn't like an instant like thing for me, but most of Act 1 I found quite easy in that sense, but I understand why people might not. And I think some of that is the excitement for wanting to really consume the story quickly. Like, I want to know what's happening. I want to avoid spoilers. At least that's what I'm reading into it. Or I want to be able to review it, and it's actually taking too long to really get to the end of it. And maybe that's why people are finding it more frustrating than I am, because I'm just taking my time and having fun with it.
I feel like I've had like quite a similar experience. I haven't found the runbacks as demoralizing as I thought, because it's so fun to play.
Yeah.
What you were saying about like finding sort of Act 1 like not easy, but like more straightforward than you'd heard. I think it's about like Hollow Knight and Silksong, they test your ability to just internalize a pattern and just execute like a rhythm. They're sort of like rhythm combat games, and
yes.
It's your ability to adjust to that. It's your ability to like internalize a pattern, and that's one of my favorite things about these games, is that they are hard. The bosses have these complex complex attack patterns that do a lot of damage, but they are repetitive. They don't change. And that's like a built-in accessibility option. Like if you can memorize it, then you can do it. And it's just a case of repetition and practice. And for some people, that is, people don't enjoy that, and that's fine. Whereas what you're saying is like you enjoy that challenge, you enjoy rising to that challenge, and I think like completely I'm on board with that with that read of it. So I sent you like a couple of articles that Endless Mode had about the difficulty of this game that have kind of touched on like what we've talked about there. So one of these articles argued that the punishing elements of this game are there like intentionally as a means of reflecting like the nature of the world that the game's taking place in, and the other took the position that it's okay for hard games like this to exist.
Yes, because
there's plenty of other games out there that aren't as challenging as this, and that's because of how you as a player are empowered. So particularly with the first one, like, how do you feel about those interpretations of the game? Do you think they are fair? Do you think they are sort of fair justifications for the difficulty?
I mean, just talking about that there's space for difficult games, let's look at all the FromSoft, like Dark Souls and that whole genre. A lot of people don't play them because they are hard by design. And I think the fact that this little indie game had such a buzz around it means a lot of people will have come to it wanting to also be part of this cultural phenomenon, and then maybe struggle more. There might be the same sort of people that won't play a Souls, like standard Souls game. And the other part about it reflecting its own like world, its own journey, it's like self-reflective in that difficulty. I found that really interesting because it hadn't quite clicked with me yet, and then it got me thinking about other games that I've played with similar themes, like that religious theme about penance and being a bit punishing, and I very much felt like the two Blasphemous games were like this and explored similar themes around religion, and they are not easy. I can't remember if they've got easy modes. They might do, but I found them pretty tricky, and it's got a similar mechanic to them. Their platforming is a bit more clunky.
There's this idea that in this article that the sort of punishing nature of the game, things like paying for benches, like paying in currency to save the game, the currency being quite sparse, the fact that all these characters are literally are paying with money and with their lives for this mysterious higher power, is quite a pronounced sort of like anti-organized religion take that Team Cherry are adopting here, and the argument is that this approach they've taken in terms of the difficulty of the game is just to reflect the nature of the world, that it's a logical decision, that it's intended to make the game more immersive, to draw you in, make you feel like you are part of this world, part of this challenge. Some people don't want that. Some people think that it is too punitive. It's too harsh. How do you feel about that? Do you feel that there should be concessions, or that this is it's their artistic intent, and that we should respect that?
I do want to say that I think it should be respected and it's part of the story, and it does make sense and it adds an element to the story. I've found, several areas, like you said, like paying for benches and being able to unlock something, and then there's a bit of humour at the expense of the player here and there as well, and it definitely adds to the experience for me, at least. So it does make sense for me, especially drawing on that like pilgrimage element that they have there, because those are not meant to be easy. Hence your gaming experience isn't easy to complete this game. And if we think about the cultural status of this game, this is almost like a reflection of that. Like I wonder when this theme came. Like, did it come straight away? Was it always there, or was it something that they added in later, seeing the kind of cult status, religious god status of this game, and reflected on that and built that in? Because they do seem like they have quite a dark sense of humor.
Yes.
So I'd
Yes,
I'd like to think that maybe this is also a reflection of the status the game had, and them kind of saying, why are you putting this on a pedestal?
Yeah, the idea that it's a journey, I think it's hard to say. Like, you feel wary about saying yes, it's fine that it's this hard, because it feels like you're then leaning into the get good like dialogue.
True.
Which I think that's like why people like I am wary of like saying that as well. But I'm sort of broadly in favor of like of the difficulty in this game and the decisions they've made. That I feel like there is like an artistic point to it, and because because the decisions they've made force you into like a particular way of play, they force you into learning the systems, and that's how you progress. I feel like it is. I feel like a lot of these decisions are justified, even if the runbacks are absolutely brutal, like at parts. And I did nearly. There was like one mini boss in the game very early on, and it was just two enemies, like a big one and a little flying one.
Oh yeah.
And it took me longer. It took me longer to beat that than it did even the final boss of Hollow Knight. And I could hear like the magnets in my Joy-Cons on my Switch 2 creaking under how hard I was squeezing them. That was a stressful experience. Even like despite that, I feel like there is a point to this.
I have one more small thing that I was thinking about around this, and I don't know if I'll write about it or not, but it's the kind of thought of instant gratification and actually having to practice for something. And I feel like that could also be a bit of commentary to read into this. So, you won't fly through this game on your first go. You have to practice, you have to learn something, you have to take time with it, rather than like that instant gratification element. So, we're so used to doom scrolling now, or, running through something quite easily. And yeah, I'm guilty of it because I choose an easy mode a lot of the time. But yeah, it's like it's forcing me to practice, to learn, and practice does make you better at whatever you try and do. So yeah, that's been sort of my own personal take and reflection point on the side.
No, I totally see that. Yeah, you are right. There is so much like frictionless media out there that possibly like some people's reaction to Silksong is coming from that we are used to more like fluid experiences, which are also fine. It's also fine for this, like an experience that is almost all friction to be there. It forces you to practice. And a hard game that I've played is Another Crab's Treasure. And that has a load of accessibility options, I used a couple of those, and I don't feel like that diminished the experience. It was still really, really hard. I'm still fine with there being no options like that in Silksong, because it just feels like this is what they've intended, and I want to try and meet them at their level.
Yeah.
And something you said about like going on this feeling of going on a pilgrimage, like reminded me of what you said earlier about being wary about jumping in on day one and not having a sort of community to lean on. when I have found, and I think you may have done as well, found that there is like a big community of players who are playing through this together, and they are all supporting each other, and that has been really, really helpful. Would you say that has helped, like more or less than like when you went through Hollow Knight and were looking at videos there?
Yeah, it's a different type of community support, I think. So doing something for the first time all together and sharing wins or successes or frustrations in the moment has been really rewarding and refreshing. Whereas the other support was probably more like asynchronous. There wasn't any engagement with the actual person that has put out the information or the hints and tips, whereas this has been more conversational and seeing people. Like, I really love when people go, oh, I can't get past this thing, and then the next night they post and they go, oh, I did it, I used this setup, and I just get like really excited for everyone to like get further, and a lot of people are much further than me, so it's just fun to see that element and be in the moment with everyone together and supportive in that way, while avoiding spoilers, because I'm trying to avoid spoilers where I can, unless I'm really stuck, and then I might be like, oh, did they post, and like, you know, unhide any spoilers around it. But yeah, I've really enjoyed that. So it's making me think of, you know, what other games are coming up that I might play remotely, indirectly, together with other people to write about.
What we'll do now, like trying to be conscious of spoilers.
Yeah.
We won't mention like specific plot points or boss names. We'll sort of bring this, like talk about Silksong to a close. Where are you at in the game? And like, what are you hoping for the rest of the game? Like, what do you want from it that you haven't had already?
So I'm in Act 2, but I might either be 2/3 through Act 2 or halfway through Act 2. I'm not quite sure how to interpret it without looking it up. And I've seen some interesting like growth in Horner as a character and how she interacts with some of the other people she's met on her journey who are maybe not as able to defend themselves and do certain things for themselves. So I'm wondering how that will evolve, and will she leave them all there, or will she able to like support them? Like as a character, will she be able to support them in their like final bit of their journey? Like how that kind of goes together between like her mission and the like pilgrims she's met, I guess, and helped so far. I'd love to be able to restore the world to some sort of glory, but I don't know if this is too much, but like as an atheist, I'm a bit like, well, I don't know what that glory should be. and what it is.
No, we welcome any kind of atheist chat on this podcast.
So with the like religious themes, like I really wonder what it will be. I don't want to be like, oh, I want to destroy the god, or you know, I'm a bit unsure. I'm trying not to guess too much into it either, and just let it come to me. But yeah, I really don't know what to expect, to be honest.
Yeah, same. I was not expecting to be as engaged in the story. I didn't expect any like story from this game, really. I enjoyed Hollow Knight. I wasn't really like I wasn't really pulled through it by the narrative. And I kind of glaze over when I'm reading like these like bits of lore. But this has been the complete opposite. I'm really, really compelled by this game, and it is just down to the writing and how like funny the characters are. Yeah, that's the thing I think that's one of the things that's like pulling me through. Other than the fact that it's really fun to play, I'm really, really interested to see where the story goes, because they do seem to be they're going for something. Yeah. This is very, very pointedly like an anti-religious, anti-organized religion allegory. So I'll be very interested to see where they take it. That's great. Well, it's been a very serious chat about difficulty and religion. So I think it'd be nice to end on a fun one. Do you have a favourite character so far in this game?
So I think the one I admire most is the map person. But I can't remember their name. I just heard someone...
Chakra.
Chakra. I was going to say, someone just referred to them as Shakira, and now I can't because of the lovely song they sing.
I like that.
Yes. So I can't hear that. But yeah, I love the song. It's just a really nice, meditative, safe thing because you're like, oh, I'm going to get the map.
I heard someone on a podcast speculate that Hollow Knight 3, much like Silksong took a side character from the first game, Hornet, and expanded her story, Hollow Knight 3 should be Shakira, whatever, and you follow her journey. Whether Team Cherry do a Hollow Knight 3, I don't know, God. But I love the idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love for them to have fun and build more on this world because it's such a special place, I think, and been really interesting to see this interpretation of Hornet's journey and where that sits in the timeline, and lots of other side characters there that we could explore. I don't know, DLC, and then a DLC that turns into another game because they have so many ideas.
Yeah. That's what they do. They have promised there's going to be DLC for this game, so I think it's only inevitable that this world expands out further than we can theorize about now. That's great. I think that is that's a nice point to wrap up our talk about Silksong. Margot, is there anything you would like to tell the listeners? Where can they check you out? Where can they find your work?
As I mentioned earlier on, I've got a Substack called Margot Plays, so you can find me there. And also here and there I post mostly food images on Instagram if you're interested in food images, also under Margot Plays, and those are probably the two main areas I do post. I am also on Blue Sky, but very, very rarely, mostly on the Substack. I guess I could do a shout out to the Gaming in the Wild kind of Discord, because that's been where we've met more in person. Yes. And it's been a really nice community there, and I really appreciate it and love it.
You're more than welcome to shout out Gaming in the Wild on this show. That's a great podcast and a great community, and has been instrumental in dragging me through this game. Margot, thank you for coming on the show, and good luck out there in Farloom. See you at the finish line.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to seeing us both get there.
Margot's approach to gaming is something that I aspire to. She treats games as experiences. She invests in what a game offers and responds to what's there and doesn't criticise what isn't. She's along for the ride in Silksong. A pretty great companion to have. Next up, this is John.
I'm John. I'm a graphic designer. Been doing it for 25 years, heavily influenced by games. My first job was as a graphic designer at Future Publishing, where we worked on all of the games mags, basically. It was the place to be in the early noughties. All the official magazines, the PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and of course Edge magazine. I got to work across all of those, which was a great way to start my career.
Apart from that very cool job that John possessed during the most exciting time in games media, there's something he doesn't tell you. He's an intimidatingly good gamer, a man who apparently eats Souls games for breakfast. I've interacted with him over Discord and have always been struck by his obvious skill, which made his initial reaction to Silksong all the more surprising and interesting. And we'll get to all of that. But first, of course, let's talk about the kids. Hi, John. Thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for the invite. It's a pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I'm really looking forward to talking about this game with you, because I think you'll be able to talk about it from a perspective that we haven't really heard in any of the mainstream discourse so far. So, to start with, let's do a bit of backstory first. From what I've seen you post online, you played and enjoyed Hollow Knight. What was your experience with Hollow Knight? When did you play it? What was your reaction to it at the time? And how do you feel about it now?
It's probably not what you're expecting to hear. It was a strange one for me. I played all of the From Software games fell in love with them eventually after getting over the Bloodborne hurdle for the first game.
Yeah.
And I stepped away from them for a while, and something happened around Christmas 2023. It's a long story short. Me and my wife had been trying for a baby for about 5 years. Hadn't happened. We did the tests, went to see people about it, and it just didn't happen. We didn't think it was going to happen. And then earlier that year, luckily, she fell pregnant. But then there was a major problem around Christmas time. She was in and out of hospital. We were playing Slay the Spire. You would think to take your mind off things, you would need a more relaxed game. But I'd heard about Hollow Knight. I knew it's considered another difficult game. And I was craving it because I need to take my mind off things. And my mind can wander reading a book, with a film, or even a more chilled game. But those games, I just needed it, and it did the trick. Like there's nothing I could do to help. We just it was playing a waiting game. I'll just say, thankfully, we have a healthy son. It all ended okay, but it was a very dark time, so I just needed that distraction, that focus, and it helped me out no end. It's got a special place in my heart. That's for one reason. The other reason is it just, as a graphic designer, it's stunning. It's absolutely gorgeous. The hand-drawn art, the Tim Burton style, gothicness, that's what drew me in.
It's a great synthesis of so many disciplines in gaming.
Yes,
everything is operating at such a high level in it. At a stressful time, you need something that's completely immersive.
Yeah.
And that's what Hollow Knight really affords you. It's a deep world, quite literally, but also metaphorically. It's something you can really get absorbed in, which is what you like. What a lot of people need at stressful times. So you touched on it there, and this is something I'd like to talk about with you a little bit more. Is one of the unique perspectives that you bring in how your life has changed sort of since you played Hollow Knight. You became, as you say, a parent. I believe it's for the first time, and that was around 15 months ago. Is that kind of right?
Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I think 15 months is still within the statute of limitations to say congratulations.
Yeah.
So you're still new enough to say that. So yeah. I guess first of all, I feel like I have to ask the big dumb question. How have you found the transition to parenting? How's it going for you?
My wife's a gamer too, not quite as much as me, but yeah, we've both joked that it's suddenly playing life on hard mode.
Yeah,
it is sure difficult. It is.
But and there's no retries. Very limited continues.
Full on from software mode. There's no changing it back to easy now. Right?
It really is. I'm glad you touched on that, because I was going to ask you what has been your experience of juggling gaming and parenting? Is that something you thought about before becoming a parent? Has anything been different to what you expected?
I did cram in Elden Ring for a second playthrough before he arrived, because I knew it would be a long time before I get to do it again.
To be able to say that you just crammed in a quick second playthrough of Elden Ring, that is wonderful. Congratulations on that.
Yeah,
I think that's deserving congratulations as much as a child.
It was like another platinum as well, because I played it on PS4 and then PS5, and it's a separate list.
Cool.
So yeah, I just adore that game. So I thought, if I don't do it now, I'll never get another chance. I'm not going to have those Saturdays where I can wake up with a coffee and just play. Like my wife on a Saturday goes to the horses. Okay. That's her hobby. So before he arrived, that was my Saturday was I can chill and play a game for however long. Yeah.
Go and spend a few years getting destroyed in Limgrave.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's cool. How have you found it? Since your child came along, how have you found juggling gaming and parenting? Do you have any ways? Do you have any sort of ways that you have juggled those two things? Have you been able to game as much as you thought you were? Have your preferences changed in any way? What games you gravitate towards now?
It's definitely changed at the start. I don't think I gamed at all for the first at least 3 months, possibly 4. I did question. I have to be honest. I questioned my relationship with gaming, whether I would pick up a controller again. I don't know. You just when you're in that headspace and you got zombie eyes, and lack of sleep.
Yeah.
You kind of like. It didn't even cross my mind to pick up a controller. To be honest, I was just, if I had any spare time, it was like I maybe should get a nap in here and recharge a little bit for when he wakes up again. So yeah, but I don't know at what point or what the first game was that I played after that period, but I obviously did get back into it because I know that at the time I was following the shout out to Gaming in the Wild Discord. I was following that all the time and listening to podcasts. So I was keeping an eye on everything, making a little list of the games I will play when the time comes around, which has gone out of control now, by the way. I'm never going to claw that back, but
no.
There's just too many.
We're all drowning in our wish list.
Yeah, the FOMO. The FOMO is big. At the moment.
Yes, podcasts. That seems to be like a real a through line in a lot of people's sort of experience in like the last few years with gaming. They are a lifeline for people because they are easy to access. They're like easy to fit into your life, and communities come out of podcasts. That seems to be something that's been happening more and more recently. So yeah, I'm glad you shouted that out, and you are the second person to shout out Gaming in the Wild Discord on this episode. So like that is a great advert for that, and yes, that is a great community that I encourage anyone to be a part of. So that's Hollow Knight and your transition to parenting, and so we come to Silksong. I believe you started it and then you dropped it. Why was that?
I was desperate to play it, and I'm so used to difficult games, having played all the From Software games. I've played most of the Souls-likes as well. So I don't usually consider the difficulty an issue all that much. I mean, there's things I would like to change about those games to make them run backs and stuff like this, but it's never really bothered me. But for some reason, whether it's the parenting thing, I don't know, but in this game it niggled at me a lot more. I think in particular it was the runbacks, which I know in Bloodborne and Dark Souls, they are runbacks. Like, you know the route back to the boss, you can run past enemies, you just run.
Yeah.
But in Hollow Knight, I can't remember which boss it was, but it was like an assault course. It's just I had to do tricky platforming, bouncing off certain objects. There are enemies that just fly directly in your path, so you kind of have to interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it was just a step too far. And it just put me off, and I ended up putting it down. I've rage quit many times in the FromSoft games, but this was different.
So I had a kind of similar experience with Hollow Knight. What made me drop that was like the punishing difficulty of the bosses, and the challenge in getting back to them. And for me at the time, it was like I don't want to spend the time. Like I have limited time to game.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be making sort of forward like progress all the time. I don't want necessarily a frictionless experience. But I just want to. I'm like fine with failing at a boss, but I would like to be able to retry that boss immediately. I don't want to do all of this again, and my time is so limited that I feel like this is not a good use of it. So it sounds like you might have been like feeling something similar.
Yeah, that was exactly it.
What inspired you to pick it back up?
The Discord, FOMO, one of them. I put the controller down and said to myself, I'm gonna pick another game, maybe come back to it. But it's just everywhere. It's such a big game at the moment. Like if I read an article on a website or I go on Discord, social media, anything, it's right there, and I just get hooked back in, which I did. So I'm blaming the Discord, really. That was the main one. Everyone's talking about it, even not on the Hollow Knight thread. It's just on the main gaming thread. It's everywhere. It's just so difficult to avoid, and I just get sucked back in.
I think it functions as a really good support network.
Yeah, and it's great support. Yeah, there's tips and tricks, and
people are really cheering each other on.
Yeah,
being mindful of spoilers, and giving like sort of the lightest touch tips to like if people need it, like full on like guides on how to do stuff. It's been such a nice way of experiencing a game. And I think that's really up to this point, it's really like enhanced the experience for me. It's a worthwhile way of playing a game, of experiencing a game. It's reminded me of when sort of like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom released. But even then, it's different to that, because those are not particularly challenging games. People were sharing sort of like sharing more like humorous experiences or like discoveries, and the same is true of Silksong, but also with that added like the challenge of it makes you feel like everyone is really like up against it together.
Yeah,
it really makes you feel like it's a journey that everyone is on together, and I think that has been like a real boon to the life of this game so far. Anyway, it's great to hear that you've picked it back up, and it's.
I find that with all the From Software games, it's great. It's part of it is actually going online and getting tips from people, and I don't follow guides as such, but you find so much out online. I didn't realise you could do this, or there's this tactic to beat a certain boss, and you're like, oh my god, yeah, right, I'm going to try that, and it works, and it's just. Yeah, just help. You're in it together, just helping each other out, and it's great. Even jumping in as a summon, I've had people. I'm struggling with this boss, and they've jumped in and helped me, and that's a great feature.
Yeah, it's a great way of making single player games social experiences as well. Because you can be someone who doesn't like multiplayer games, online multiplayer games, and there are a lot of those. Several of them are quite impenetrable to new players, and if you prefer single player experiences, but you don't want to be completely cut off from the world, things like this are great for that. So in my other conversations about this game, we've focused on the gameplay, the game feel, the difficulty, and how like the former makes the latter like more palatable. But what we haven't focused on really is like the visuals, the art style, the art direction. And from what you do professionally, you seem well positioned to speak on what this game is doing. So first, are you able to share a little about your profession?
I've never worked in the gaming industry myself, but I've worked at Future Publishing. It was like my first job, and I worked on a lot of the gaming magazines, and they were king at the time. Everyone was buying them. They were at their peak in the early noughties, and they own the rights to all of the big magazines, the official PlayStation, official Xbox, Nintendo, all of the sister magazines, N64 magazine, PSM, and of course Edge magazine. And I was lucky enough to work across all of those at one point. Free games, all the bonuses, met lots of great people who still in touch with. And then I actually moved jobs to working on social media for Chelsea Football Club. And the chap who I worked with was a big gamer. And when they started doing Instagram stories, we started dreaming up these funny little ideas for match day promos. So a few hours before the game, they would put out an Instagram story, and they would be themed. And we did quite a few gaming ones. There was a Pac-Man one, Metal Gear Solid, which ended up being a feature on a news story on Games Radar. There's a Cyberpunk 2077 one. And yeah, a lot of that, the Pac-Man one as well, sort of made the news because people weren't doing these sort of things at the time, and a lot of the gaming websites picked up on it as well. It was just great fun. merging the two passions. Like I've been a graphic designer since I was like 18 and loved gaming ever since I was about 5. So just to actually put these together, it was just great fun.
So, to the visuals in Silksong, I've always wanted to have someone like with professional animation experience on the show, as like I've got no knowledge or language to sort of accurately describe video game art, and that's something I really want to improve on. Like I can only describe why something looks good on like the most surface level. Like I can interpret Silksong as being like visually dense or quite lush, quite detailed, but I can't elaborate on that. Like I don't understand why or how it looks like that. So over to you. What do you like about the visuals in Silksong? Like, what does it do to achieve that? Like, as a professional, what's your reaction to like what Team Cherry have done here?
I was actually listening to Ari Gibson, the art director. Yep. I was listening to an interview with him the other day. It was during Hollow Knight launch, so it was about 7 years ago or so. And I couldn't believe how nonchalant he was about his work, so laid back, and it was just I basically just I've done some 3D work, but we wanted to keep things simple, so I just did it in Photoshop, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was like I couldn't believe it. It's just I was expecting this like to learn so much, but then I realised he's just the same as me but massively skilled at what he does. But it's
talented and modest.
He's using the same tools. Yeah, so modest. He's using exactly the same tools. Everything he mentioned, he was like, I draw it by hand, scan it in, trace it in Photoshop using, from what I can tell, I looked into it, the brushes he uses to do all the colouring, it just looks like the basic Photoshop brush as well. I mean, you can buy, there are endless amounts of detail brushes, realistic brushes, all these ones that you pay for. But the ones that come with Photoshop, just like the small amount, I could be wrong, but I think he's just using but he's so talented that he doesn't need that. It's the vision and the skill that it's there. That's what you need, really. The tools will only do so much, but I look up to him. He's very, very talented. A one-man army as well, because I know he does all of the illustration work, all the colouring in, there's the painting them, he's animating them. It's phenomenal. It's very, and it's not only the effort he puts in, it's the amount of work. The fact he's doing it all himself blows my mind.
Yeah, that is unreal. Especially when you only need to like glance at this game. In any sort of like, you can pause it at any point, and you've got this like a crazy depth of field in some of these environments. And I really don't know like how they're achieving that. I've heard the word parallax been thrown around, and I have the most basic understanding of what that is. But yeah, what you said about the tools will only take you so far is the vision, and that's what people like really attach themselves to in playing the games and in looking at them. Is there anything you like discerned, like any particular techniques that you've discerned that they might be using to create these worlds?
I get brand guidelines with pretty much every job I do. It's the first thing they'll send you with a brief, and it's just a breakdown of the rules you have to stick to for the fonts used, the colour palette, what not to do with the brand logo. Don't stretch it, don't do this, don't do it in different colours. And I think Hollow Knight, although he's so nonchalant about everything, how they put it together, I think it's one of the tightest games I've ever seen when it comes to like the identity. Everything from the colour palettes, the way the world, each area transitions into the next. It does it in Silksong, but I don't think it's quite as good as Hollow Knight, I've noticed. You'll go from what's an area? The Forgotten Roads. It's one of the earlier ones. It's got this very dark, almost black and white tone to it, with a hint of blue. And there's like a two. I think there's at least 2 frames, two steps between that world and is it Green Path, the one to the left, I believe. there's a section there, but before you can get through it, I think there's like quite a big enemy, and you have to acquire another tool before you get past it. So that section, if you notice, there's the greenery, the little leaves start to trickle through. There's like this just bleeding through from one area to the next. It's not this stark contrast, a big divide. It's so smooth, and there's even you probably don't notice it. It's because I've been observing it a lot recently. Even the audio, as you move from that world to the next, you can hear a sort of echo and the little drops and the rustling of the leaves and so forth as you're moving through that world.
Wow.
It, like the audio transitions smoothly. It's everything's it's the thought that they've put into it. I mean, Ira Gibson won't admit to this. In that interview, he was like, "Yeah, we just did it. I wasn't really thinking about it." But if I hadn't heard that interview, I would say there was these strict guidelines in place before they even started, because it's so tightly woven. It's incredible, and the color palettes as well. Just from Dirtmouth, from Crossroads to the Green Path. It's this dark blue, and then as you transition into the turquoisey green, there's a very slight fade between those colours, but you know exactly where you are. It's very, very different, but at the same time, there's the colours side by side aren't that different. But it just works. It's such a smooth transition. I love it.
It's such a pretty rendition of what should be like an ugly world.
Yes,
it's supposed to be this this haunted, broken kingdom.
Yeah.
But it's
very cute bugs.
Yeah, but it's so pleasing to look at, and the color. Glad you brought up the color palette, because that's like the one of the things that leapt out to me. It's so lush, and there's like a real the blues just feel so deep. Yeah. In a way that I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's obviously something, because that is something that this game does, that these games do that others don't. And what you were saying about the attention to detail, that's something that you can't fake. They've obviously they commit to their world building in a way that other studios don't, or in some cases can't. They've obviously had the luxury of 15 million sales of Hollow Knight to support the development of Silksong, but that is something that's incredibly admirable about these games, and I don't think it can be undersold. And there's a million articles out there and videos on the internet praising them, so I don't think they're being undersold anywhere. So to Silksong, are there any environments in particular that stand out to you, and if so, why?
I'm really excited to see this. I can't say it because it's going to be a spoiler, but there's a certain world that I've seen several times, and that is the one that it makes me want to pick up the game and get to that point. The very first environment reminded me of the Green Path, but it was it's even more colourful.
Yeah.
I mean they have stepped it up. I mean, they've obviously had a long time to put into this. I would say Silksong does look nicer than Hollow Knight, because I guess they may have had more time. It's more detailed, but at the same time, I could be wrong. I've not got to the end of the game yet, but I don't think it's going to be quite as memorable, quite as iconic, certain areas. But maybe that's because I've not put in as many hours as I have with Hollow Knight. I'm not sure. But yeah, that first area, I was just like, we're back. This is gorgeous. Just the parallel, everything about the original, the parallax, the layering of them. That Gaussian blurred background is just iconic now, where they just push things back with the Gaussian blur, and I think I spent a good hour in that first area just walking back and forth just to see that parallax in action and trying to spot the layering and
Gaussian blur. That's exactly the sort of thing that I want to hear. I want to try and internalize and try and learn about. That's fascinating. I think we've nailed it there. Silksong looks great.
And sure does.
and Team Cherry are humble wizards in how they are creating these things. It's really quite something. So, talking specifically about the game, like we just have, like without going into spoilers, like where are you at with the game at the moment, and where do you want it to go, and what do you want to get out of this game?
I'm at the end of Act 1.
Okay.
This is where I put the game down again, because there is a run back, which is the same as when I first put the game down, to walk away for a while, but it involves another tricky platforming section, run back to the boss. I mean, I'll be fine with it. I'll pick it up tonight probably, and I'll get past it. But I think it was quite late at night the last time I played it, and I just rolled my eyes. I was like, I can't do this now.
Yeah.
I'll get past it. I know I will, but I can't do this right now. I just wanted that bench outside the bus room like everyone else, but.
That's a healthy attitude to have, to know when like, now is not the time, pick it up another time.
At the time when I was playing that boss and I did the run back like 4 or 5 times before I gave up. And I had all these rosary beads, which I've been farming. And it crossed my mind, what I would really like in this game is to be able to, because you have to purchase or hire the benches and the stations. It's like, I've earned these rosary beads. I've been farming for them. I just want to be able to place one or build one wherever I want. That would be a change that I would like to make to the game. Not necessarily, I mean, I would place them outside a boss room, like I guess most people would, but that would be the one thing I would love to see changed in the game. Just to use the rosary beads to build a bench. Because then it wouldn't be an easy mode as such, because you still have to earn those rosary beads and not lose them, but at least then I can choose where I want to save it. It would be limited. I might struggle and say I've only got 90 on me, and I need another 10 to build one in late game or something. But just having that choice, I think, would be great.
Well, that's a really interesting idea. Yeah, I never really considered that. What you've pitched there is a way of you've still got to put in the work.
Yeah.
But it gives you flexibility. It gives you some control over the world design. Really, that's an interesting idea. I wonder if they ever consider that.
I'll email them.
Yeah,
patch number 2. Go on.
They probably considered it and said no.
No, yeah. I think that the only other thing I would like to change. I mean, I'm sure there are people that have a whole list of them. The only other one that I find more frustrating than a lot of the other From Software games is the iframes. It's the window's so short. I mean, I was fighting a boss. The last boss I fought, I was jumping, so I'm attacking midair. So you get sort of stung, you lose your 2 pips, and as I was falling, it was one of the other minions flying around, like caught me. I couldn't do anything. I just fell. It hit me, and I got knocked again for another 2 and died. I was like, I didn't even have a chance to. It's like less than a second. Yeah. But just a few flashes of invincibility, just to clear your head and take a step back. But yeah, it just seems a very, very short window.
It is very short, noticeably short.
But everything else, I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. It's a difficult game. Let's do this. But those are the 2 that I would love to see implemented. But I can't. Okay. They probably won't.
No, I don't think they will.
No.
Yeah. So with that in mind, what do you want to get out of the game? Like from this point, is there anything like how is the story like hitting for you, and is there anything in the gameplay that you would like to see evolve during your time with it?
I have noticed with the gameplay, it does feel very different to Hollow Knight, which I like, because I dove back into Hollow Knight before playing this, thinking it would help, just getting used to the controls again, but it didn't, because it's so different.
It is very different, yeah.
It feels like picking a different build in a From Software game. We've gone from like a strength to a dexterity, or it just feels very different, lighter and more agile, quicker.
Hornet feels like a sprinter, and
yes.
The Knight feels like a sandwich. After playing this game, yeah.
I wasn't sure at first, if I'm honest. It just because I'd been so used, especially having played Hollow Knight literally the night before. I was like, oh, this is very different. But now I'm now I've got used to it. I couldn't say I prefer it. I'm not sure yet, but I'm glad that they made the decision to make it feel a lot different. Apart from the platforming, even with the what do you call it, the downward slash that's the same to Hollow Knight. I'm sure it's in other games, but it took me a while to realise you don't sort of attack downwards. Say you're bouncing on some spikes or an actual object that springs you up. The closer you get to it, the less impact, the less height you get from it. So it's all about this precision timing, and that's why I'm faltering. I'm not the best at platforming, so there's been a few sections where I'm trying to leap across, do the bounce, and get to the next platform, and you can't just hit at any angle. You have to sort of you have to time it just right so you can get enough height. It's like the jump, like the pressure sensitive jump. Yeah, it's closer to that. So that's where I've been struggling a lot with the platforming and letting the rage kick in. Just like
oh, don't worry. I think this has been a humbling experience for a lot of players.
Yeah.
I used to think that I was pretty good at platforming, and this game has made me reassess that opinion.
Yeah.
But still fun.
Very much so.
The mechanics are still like pretty great to engage with, and that's what's like really pulling me through it. I guess one final question is, are you sticking with it?
I definitely am. Yes. Thank you to speaking to you and just being on the Discord. I can't wait to get back in. I took that breather, which I'm probably going to do quite a lot. I'm not going to finish this one quickly. I'm going to take a breather in between. But the only thing with me is I have to play one game at a time, unless it's something like Balatro that I can dip into. I couldn't pick up another. Definitely not a AAA game or anything that's more than say 10 hours, because I forget controls very quickly. I forget the story very quickly. And I if I step away, I know I won't come back, so I have to stick with it. But I will have to take a breather every now and then, just so I don't get too frustrated. But I am definitely going to see it through. I know I am. Yeah, I've done all the From Software games, and I felt the same with those. I'm like, I'm not sure I can do this. This is too much. Then you come back with a clear head, beat the boss, and it's the greatest thing ever. You're like, a new area, a new vista. I get to go and explore that. Yeah. And I want to see all of these levels. I want to see the artwork. I want to see everything. The soundtrack, which again is incredible. I can't wait. I will be diving back in tonight for sure.
You said about like taking your time with this game, and yes, I completely identify with that. I tend to really like try and plow through 2D games, whereas like a 3D adventure game, I'm happy to like sort of luxuriate in more, and like really engage with all the side quests and stuff in those. And I tend not to do that with 2D games, and it's just that's just a weird kind of prejudice. Like 2D game, like where I think a 2D game, it has to be linear. I'm going to go from point A to point B, and even if it's a Metroidvania, I don't think about going back around and going back to previous areas. Whereas with this, I've been more than happy to take my time, go back, explore, because it only improves you. And it's just another excuse to, as you say, like take in these areas, take in this world, take in this the sound design. That's been a good experience, and I'm glad that you're having it as well.
Yeah, it's reminded me of Elden Ring, to be honest. Like, you could wander off. It's such a big world, and I'm getting that same feeling with Silksong. I'm fed up with the boss, and I'm not putting the controller down out of frustration. I know I can wander off, and before I know it, I've entered a whole new area. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even know this was here. This is like, I've explored, I've found a new ability, and I've gone back to that boss, and I'm like, yep, done, first try. It's like, that's exactly what I needed to do, and I just love that type of thing. It's whether they planned for all this, I don't know, because it must be so difficult to create this big world and know how people are going to navigate through it, but I guess they must do.
I think they totally have designed it like that, and I think that is to their great credit that the game is designed like this. I think that is a good point to draw this to a close. So, John, thank you for your time. Is there anything you would like to plug online that you do? Any work or social media that you want to let the listeners know about?
I have got a social media channel for my work. I don't really use it that often, but if people want to go and check it out, it's Blackshaw Design, at Blackshaw Design on Instagram. It's just some of the work. I keep it as a little portfolio. There's not much on there, personally, but there are actually some gaming related things. I've designed some gaming t-shirts, which I'm wearing now, an Orlando one from
nice.
Dark Souls. Yeah.
Very
so
cool.
there's a few snippets of gaming stuff on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mostly just my work from over the years. But yeah, if you want to check it out, that'd be great.
John, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. It's been great. Yeah, hopefully get to chat again soon.
John's reaction to Silksong speaks volumes to its qualities. The gameplay is good enough to help him reckon with the difficulty, the art, the incentive to pushing on. This guy beat Elden Ring seemingly on a whim, for fun. I have faith that he'll make the climb and find what he's looking for. Next, my last guest, my friend, and soon to be yours, Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean. Jack of many trades, master of none. For the purposes of this episode, I am the gaming equivalent of the man on the Clapham omnibus. I've known Andrew for more years than I care to count, and I have committed the cardinal sin of getting him into Hollow Knight / Silksong Extended Universe back in 2018.
I met Sean when, I think, I was 19 years old. We've been in each other's lives through the several lifetimes between then and now. Sean is a marine conservationist and occasional marathon runner who has travelled the world in service of his work, having lived in both Belize and Madagascar. Our loss, their gain. He has impeccable taste in music, is dispiritingly handsome, and one thing that has always struck me from the moment we met is his ability to articulate why he thinks something is good or bad. I've only ever heard constructive, usually quite charming, criticism from him. He also introduced me to Hollow Knight, and in turn, unknowingly triggered the existential crisis I spoke about in episode 19. My anticipation for Silksong was matched only by my excitement about hearing Sean's reaction to it. And so, over to Sean. Hi Sean, how are you?
Hello, Andrew. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, and I'm very excited to talk about this game. You are right, you did commit a cardinal sin in getting me into these games, because I have been kind of unable to think about anything else since Silksong came out. It's been kind of an all-consuming game for me. So far on this show, we've heard from a games industry alumni and writer, and a hardcore Metroidvania fan. Now, you're like a lifelong gamer with sort of a wealth of knowledge and experience who exists like outside of this particular bubble. So I think like your perspective on this game is extremely valuable at this like early point in his life. But first, I'd like to talk briefly about Hollow Knight, which you may or may not know. But a confession: I played the game because of you. Because you're one of the very few people I know in real life who is actually a gamer. Most of the ones I know are on the internet. And you're the only one I know in real life who's actually played Hollow Knight. And so, just based on the way that you talk about games, I've always had the impression that you value, like, good shit. Or at least, like, our tastes align in very particular ways. So, even though I was apprehensive about playing it, I knew it must be good because you liked it. So, and then, like, I bailed pretty quickly in my first run because I couldn't really hack it. So, big, broad question. Is that right? And what is Hollow Knight to you?
Oh crikey! What is Hollow Knight to me? It is the prequel to Silksong. Let's start off with a fact.
Very accurate.
No, yeah. It's so Hollow Knight as a game, ticks a fair few boxes of things that I enjoy. Metroidvanias, for one. Although thinking back on the games I've played, like the sort of Metroid and Castlevania, I don't think I've got too many of those like within my sort of gaming library. But I can think of sort of 16-bit, 8-bit RPGs, mainly Zelda story. The idea of that, oh, look at this new toy I've got. Time for me to abandon all the forward motion towards the end goal that I've got and disappear back into other parts of the map and work out what my new toy does to open up new parts of the map that I haven't got to before. And, you know, I think I got into Hollow Knight just like so many other people. They saw the kind of the hype about it, the fact that it was perpetually on sale on the eShop at ever lower prices. Like, you know, someone offering like, would you want this game? Do you want this game? How about now? £10? £10? How about £7? And, you know, I whether I bit at the bottom or the top of the market, I can't quite remember. But I bought it for a good price because, good Lord, the amount of hours I've put into it is probably in triple figures, if not higher. There's that. And then, you know, I'm probably speaking to the converted of you and everyone who's listening to this, the vibes, the ambience, the atmosphere of it, just the idea of descending into this, you know, this forgotten, decrepit kingdom in which you, as a mute protagonist, the only sort of storytelling around you is either from, you know, non-player characters who are there because, you know, they live there, they are there, they have some kind of weird immortality that keeps them there, you know, not being affected by the curse or whatever, or they're just there to sell you things. So just the idea of that sort of storytelling, along with the sort of environmental storytelling in the background, you know, sort of things you'll see appear on screen, disappear off screen, and then the music and the sound design and all of that telling, and it's just... It adds up you know, all the ingredients add up to far more than the sum of its parts, which, you know, on base, it's a 2D platformer with, you know, that turns out to be a lot harder than it looks like at first times. And it's a lot. Hollow Knight's a lot, and Silksong so far seems to be turning into the same thing for me, which is, you know,
and potentially good. A lot more.
We hope. Yeah.
It kind of does, it does what we were told Metroid did, but, you know, better because there's been like 30 years of advancements in game design. That kind of ambient world design that you're talking about, like the sound design, this sense of mystery. So, what percentage did you get on this game when you wrapped it?
I definitely didn't get 112. I can tell you that much. Things like, you know, Path of Pain, carrying that god awful flower across the map, and then getting to that, you know, that inch perfect dash across the thorns. I think I have got at least 3 of the 4 endings. I don't think I've got any of the sort of God Home ones. Because as and I know we're going to get onto themes of difficulty on it later. I am not a lover of difficult games for the sake of difficult games. In fact, I would say that Hollow Knight is probably the exception to that rule. You know, I own the Dark Souls trilogy, I own Bloodborne, I own Elden Ring, but my combined playtime on the lot of them probably barely creeps into double figures in terms of hours. I just bought them, I had a go, and I hoped that I would get round them, but just getting my arse handed to me by some impossibly large, impossibly mean early stage game boss was just enough to make me go back to whatever whatever sort of Switch first party title I'd given up to attempt life in a slightly darker world. So yeah, I think I sort of persevered to the point where it was clearly you know, what was being asked of me exceeded my skill level. So, you know, some of the way, most of the way, I finished it. I've done a second playthrough, but the Path of Pain is none of my business whatsoever.
So you're a Hollow Knight sicko, but not a Hollow Knight capital S sicko.
Capital, yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
Important to make that distinction.
Indeed. It is not a perversion for me, Drew. It is merely an addiction.
It's very interesting that you dropped off Dark Souls and Elden Ring. What was it that made Hollow Knight stick for you, where those games didn't?
For all that it is quite challenging, I think Hollow Knight and Silksong keep you on rails a little bit more. It's I mean, Christ, it's probably as simple as saying, how many things can you go around? How difficult is something in 2 dimensions to master than something in 3? I found the Souls, From Software games in specific, the fact that they just throw you into the world and it's either you go online and look at guides, or it's trial and error, or you're just you're just intrinsically good at working these things out. What class of character you want to start out with, what particular type of weapon, what boon or whatever. And I don't have the patience for it, Andrew. But and it's ultimately as difficult as the games are. They're difficult in a very fair way. Yes. I think there's through all of the games there is no boss that I can recall, or any section that I can recall rage quitting by like, how do they expect you to do this? Like, the vision and the way through is there. You can get your head round attacks, movements, the arena, what comes next, what the kind of that sort of frantic key change at the end of every boss encounter looks like. But it's just a case of repetition, you'll get there in the end. There have been so many of the Souls games, each of those, like, where something has one-shotted me before I even realised who's in a room with it. That just feels unfair. Whereas Hollow Knight, I don't know, at least it kind of lets you get a couple of shots in before it smashes you with its oversized bone club made out of, I don't know, the rest of its hive or something or whatever.
I'm glad you brought up the idea of fairness. We're going to put a pin in that because we'll be coming back to that later. Yeah, I think I get what you're going for there. I feel like a 2D game is just more, because it's got that connection to like the games we played as kids. Something being hard in 2 dimensions is different to something being hard in 3 dimensions. Yeah. It's like 2D. It's just there. It's flat. It just feels more readable, more gettable. Yeah. Rather than in a 3D space when things can be coming at you from any angle. I think that's I think I'd like to. Yeah, I totally get that, and I find Hollow Knight and games like it more accessible than similar things in 3D. So yeah, we'll leave Hollow Knight there, and so after 7 years, we come to Silksong. So what do you think?
It still doesn't quite feel real that it's here, does it? No. You sort of introduced me as being sort of outside of the sort of maybe the professional gaming bubble, as you were, but it became impossible. It's impossible over those last 7 years to kind of escape the hype train. I stayed out of the comments of pretty much any other gaming reveal stream, direct state of plays, whatever the Xbox equivalent is, just because of the skong, where skong, Silksong, when, clown.
They're still doing that, right?
Yeah, well, it's... there's so much. It's quite ironic, isn't it, that in both both Hollow Knight and Silksong, there's the idea that a lot of the enemies are just husks carrying out the habits of what they did when they were alive, like some sort of bug zombies. And it turns out all the people who've been waiting for it vociferously for the last 6 years are doing the exact same thing.
Are you spotting a parallel?
I don't know. Whoa, yeah, there's your commentary. The fact that we went from no news to here's a trailer, and by the way, it's out in 2 weeks, exceeded probably even my wildest expectations, for the point between it would surface again from the void of vaporware to being a real life thing in 2 weeks. So it's almost it's strange to have it here and be able to go into the next room, pick up my controller, turn on the Silksong and play as Hornet. But anyway, shocker than you out of the way, into the actual play. I'm really enjoying it. It is. I think we sort of said before it came out that there was a lot of, certainly on my part at least, expectation management going on because of the amount of hype and what it was building it up to be. So I was pleasantly surprised by the fact that it met those expectations and has exceeded them. all the things that you've sort of read in reviews and commentary about, the movement, it being, you're now a sort of larger character, but you can move quicker. There's a lot more sort of verticality and aerialness to it, which enjoying that so far. And I am I'm definitely still within the first act. I don't know how close to the end of it I am. I have been doing my usual Metroidvania thing of every time I get a new skill that helps me explore more of the environment, I'm scouring the map for those little blurred out parts that I haven't been able to get to and going straight back to them. So I'm that's procrastination as well. I'm avoiding what I know to be a pretty difficult boss fight. Sister Splinter, the ceiling boss with the hands.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
the mole witch.
Right. I'm going to go away and I'm going to come back in about 3 hours time when I'm brave enough and hopefully well equipped enough to beat you. That's where I'm at the moment.
I think it speaks volumes that you can about any game that you can come up against a horrible roadblock and have to leave that and go back to where you've been before, and that doesn't feel like work. That still feels good. I think a lot of part of that is to do with the movement. Well, yeah. What do you think about the movement changes? Are there any games you think it's like taken from, or that it compares to?
It's flowier. I feel like I can get from one part of the map to another like much quicker.
Looking at the map is less terrifying when you think, "Oh, I've got to go all the way over there."
Yeah, and you're not carrying a delicate white flower along with you as you go. The movement changes took a while to get used to, and I think there are certainly one or two optional areas which I think my playtime is probably somewhere around 20 hours at the moment. I would say that 10 of those is spent within two early game areas with particularly challenging skill check boss rooms or battle rooms. But I think the whole process of doing those got me much more used to the far greater emphasis on the sort of bounce hopping. I've cleansed the heavier, laden, slovenly like movements of the knight from my system now. And
he feels like a granddad now.
He does, doesn't
Thinking
he?
back to that, he feels like positively arthritic compared to
positively
Hornet.
arthritic to compared to the lithe young acrobatics of Hornet, who ironically, as she says herself in various different points of the game, is very, very old.
Yeah, on the story, just to spiral off into wild predictions here. So I heard on one show, someone was talking about how they just casually mentioned that the opening cutscene, and they said this just with confidence, with no evidence for it, that it's oh yeah, so this is after the events of Silksong, Hornet is going through, it's been captured, and then blah 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 blah. I was like, we don't know that.
I'm so glad you've picked that up. We have no idea where this sits. We don't know whether is this definitely after Hollow Knight, or are we going to get some, and this is yet again offered with the caveat of his speculation, not any reveal, are we going to have some kind of kicker right at the end where we see Hornet leaving the kingdom of Farloom, her quest done, and as she approaches the welcoming lights of Dirtmouth off in the distance, she sees a small cloaked bunny with a pin wandering down towards, and realizes that something's going wrong, because there's that kind of kicker, not that kicker, it's like that pulse at the start of Hollow Knight that sort of we don't know what it is, but upon as the story reveals itself, that's the kind of the curse starting to be broke. So yeah, we don't know where it comes. Is it a sequel? It's the Hornet's already said to be pretty long-lived. Long-lived, long-lived. I don't know. Is it before or is it after? Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that, because that's been a question that I'm yet to get any sort of conclusive answer either way for.
Cool. I'm glad it's not just me who's thinking about that. The fact that it hasn't, it's not addressed straight away, makes me think that there is this is going to play a role in how the story resolves. Yes, to focus more clearly on the story and the theming of this game. So, the theming of Silksong is something that's been getting a lot of attention, positive attention. It's very distinctive. there is this through line, like through the game, of where it targets, specifically targets like organized religion, like, or at least like societies built around like devotion to unseen forces. What do you think of that theming? Are we projecting too much onto Silksong here by analysing it like that, or do you think that's like an appropriate way of looking at it?
Well, I mean, it's pretty hard to it's quite hard to ignore, isn't it? I mean, as I say, I'm relatively on in the early on in the game, or I assume if you read, I'm assuming, Act 1, there will be 3 acts maybe. From the very start, where as soon as you manage to escape your captors, the first person says kind of who they were, where they're from, why they're here. The first settlement you come across is styled as, pretty explicitly as one for pilgrims. So it's there from very, and actually the first structure that isn't, just your kind of opening corridors of the game that you encounter is a chapel. Yeah, it's the theme is religion. It's not, can't imagine it's going to pull a bait and switch on us later on in the game.
Yeah, there's religious imagery like all over this game. Like everything just permeates every sort of aspect. Like every character, the currency, the clothing, the architecture, everything is like shot through with this like this religious bent, which is completely in keeping with the idea of this society that's in reverence of this citadel that you're aiming for. I think it's very interesting that a game is really going like all in on this, and especially for like such a small team who've been working on this for so long, that they have and they seem to have committed so hard to this particular theme. It gives me hope that the game is going to say something. It's going to do something with this beyond like organized religion is bad, which it's something we can all get on board with. And I think it's just really, really impressive that they have built something in which this particular theme just is like runs through everything. What do you think about it? Like charging in some areas to use benches. Is that nice or nasty game design?
My sense that a lot of why this game feels a bit more difficult than Hollow Knight is because it was started and never really looped back to as an extension of Hollow Knight. So it was always intended as content for people who were a fair way into their Hollow Knight journey. Maybe it would only unlock after the end. Maybe it would come in at a certain, at a certain point. But there was a low bar to entry for Hollow Knight, and then a high bar further up. And I think that as a game design mechanic, having to pay to activate save points is fair. It feels like a sort of next step on from that. I prefer paying for save points to them killing me when I try to save that, which
you've got to that bit.
If you know, you know. Yeah,
that made me laugh.
Oh God,
so much. This game. This game is like, it's a different kind of evil.
Yeah. So I spent 10 hours in 2 areas. Well, 5 hours of that was in one area, and 4 hours was on one specific room.
Yeah, I think I have a fair idea of what.
Yeah. And then to have my blessed salvation turn out to be ruinous death.
The absolute confidence of a game developer to do that, and know
that we'll come back like the penitent chumps that we are.
Exactly, they know they've got us. Know.
So on the religion thing, the religious theming within it, I am sort of waiting a little bit for the other shoe to drop on it. Like, when we get there, is there going to be? Is it going to be turn into a story about the huddled masses striving for this promised land atop the peak, and when they get there they find that it's all just it's ruin up there itself, and they've all been pushing for nothing? Or is it going to be like a sort of uncaring, an uncaring kind of unnoticing elite at the top who've been living high off the hog for however long up there, and like, oh, you are, and hornets, I don't know, it's it could, yeah, it could go some interesting places. But I think the sort of pipeline of those, pilgrims with the help of, a broad, about to move into sort of egregious use of the word saviour territory here, but is Hornet going to be like, the saviour that leads the masses up through the citadel, kind of bashing through doors that have remained closed for many years to reveal them that in fact their religion is a lie and they need to seize the means of production, and all of a sudden it's the greatest advert for Marxism the world has ever seen. Yeah, it's going to it's yeah. I think what it's saying about religion could be sort of different things. It might be that it's just as simple as we're going on a journey to kill God, which I'm here for.
Like all the best games.
Yeah, exactly. All the best games end with you and with murder of a deity.
Yeah, what gives me hope? Like, I just think it's like a really, really, really fully realized world, and like that's a real mark of how accomplished this developer is, how uncommonly accomplished this developer is. This is only their second game, which is just nuts.
It's insane, isn't it? It's
yeah.
I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed their very short, but succinct explanation of why it's taken them so long. No, we haven't been in development hell. We've been in development heaven. It was
so good.
We've just been working on our cute little indie bug game for. We didn't realise that you guys wanted it so much, but it's done. Enjoy.
Oh, it's just perfect. It's like we're just doing the thing that we like.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Did you forget? Oh, you did forget, didn't you? Like everyone seems to have forgotten. This is all supposed to be fun.
I know. It's like they're the anti George Martin or Patrick Rothfuss, aren't they?
Totally.
It's
great reference. Great pull.
Yeah, indeed.
Speaking of having fun, let us talk about difficulty.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, earlier on, you brought up this idea of fairness. So, yeah, let's focus on that. A constant piece of the discourse around Silksong so far has been the difficulty. Some of that has been like how hard it is in the early game. How enemies do too much damage, but the one thing that has really got everyone angry is the boss runbacks that you have to do. So those are kind of like three main sticking points for people. What is your assessment of the difficulty of the game? Is it fair? Are these decisions justified?
So, having 2 masks of damage taken off me by the first little grub in the game that managed to land a hit on me was an introduction. Certainly was a way to say hello. But once
it's a bracing experience.
Yeah, got over that and moved on forward. Yeah, as I said before, the difficult parts, the boss rooms and the sort of the rooms where you're just assaulted by various degrees of mobs until okay, here you go. Well done. You've beat the challenge. A friend of mine who we've been playing it alongside and sort of back and forth. He said something that kind of I pretty much agree with now, is that the bosses themselves, certainly the larger kind of room filling ones, are, relatively easy. I'm not saying that they're easy in any way, but compared to ones where you are fighting something a single enemy of your approximate size and speed, or a room full of ones of them, the big room filling ones are pretty easy. Like, okay, with the exception of Savage Beastfly, I feel that's going to go down in the sort of annals of hated iconic game bosses. Off the back of that, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think like what I had at that stage. I must have had the dash. You can't do that without the dash. But you come out of it a dash expert. I haven't found that for many of the runbacks, I haven't come across any that have been too arduous yet. I have actually found that so far, for the ones that I've had to spend a lot of time kind of running back and forth between them, like once you get into a rhythm of it, you're there within sort of 30 seconds. yeah, it'd be great if you could be spawned right outside the boss room, but that's not how Hollow Knight played it. That's not how that's not how Silksong is going to, and I can't see that changing really at any particular stage.
Do you think there's a long-term advantage to the player in having those long run backs?
No, there's not a long-term advantage because there's one part now where what's
a long-term benefit?
Long-term benefit. Not sure. I certainly know that I would actually like some of the run backs to be slightly longer.
Okay.
Yeah, just because there's one particular thing that I'm trying to beat at the moment, where I'm finding that the use of your tools is a great help in sort of thinning out the horde. But because your tools use an entirely separate type of currency, and there are about 3 enemies between you and the boss and your later save point, you have to just farm them for about 15 minutes until you can get your next. You've got enough, those red circles are filled, and you've got enough goodies to have another go. So longer run backs, please. Unpopular opinion, but I would take it in some cases.
I love this take.
Yeah.
This
not
is
all
the
the
headline.
Time, not the time. No, it's so far every failure has made me a better player of the game. I think that for all and this is just doesn't apply to bosses. This applies to some of the platform challenges, the jumping puzzles. The more you fail, the sort of more you sort of key yourself into that rhythm of whether it's sort of downstrokes or dashes or wall grabs or whatever, and jumping around. And in doing so, it's well, let's go right back to our religious leaning. Suffering sets you free. Maybe we're going so meta that the game design isn't actually a comment on organized religion. It's a comment on Silksong and Hollow Knight players themselves and their willingness to throw themselves against the wall in pursuit of an as yet unclear and ill-defined aim.
I totally agree with everything you just said. I'm so glad you brought that up organically. I feel like the game is designed around forcing you to practice, forcing you to be patient. It forces you to meet it at its level.
Yeah.
And you are not going to when you first start, or on the or on your first try, second try, third try. It's
50th try.
Yeah, exactly. It teaches you the value of patience and repetition. And I think what you're saying about why the big bosses feel easier is because they are more predictable in their patterns and their rhythms. They are easier for you to grasp rather than a room full of flying enemies. And that's another thing that people have really that some people have really hated.
Yeah.
The mob rooms, because they are less predictable. They are harder to manage. Whereas you have a big boss with his set patterns, you can learn that
until it throws some flying enemies at you.
It does that, and they will.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about this. I like that it forces you to really lean in. It is going to be hard, and that's fine. It's fine to test you, and when that's a problem is when a game isn't fair. To bring it back to the point you made earlier, and I think this game is pretty fair in terms of your abilities and what you can do. I have played hard games that have not felt fair because you are always slower or weaker than the enemies, and I am thinking specifically of Tunic here, a game where I never felt equal to any challenge. That felt like an uncomfortable experience all the time, and I never felt like I had a grasp on the combat in that game. Whereas I feel like I do in this. I'm by no means an expert at this game. I have spent far too long on too many bosses, but I've never felt this is one of those games where I have never truly felt frustrated because it is a game that teaches you that your failures are your own. Yeah, this boss isn't doing random things, doing random unpredictable things. It's up to you to learn, be patient, and adapt.
And I think that's a really confident design decision by Team Cherry there. Because you mentioned Tunic before, and Tunic was one of the reference points that I was kind of thinking of in terms of really challenging games that we've both played and both enjoyed. I certainly really enjoyed it. Probably Tunic was one of my favourite games of 2022 whenever it came out, but I'm sure it featured on many people's big old end of year lists. But that and another game, I don't know whether you played it. Have you played Crosscode? I know we've spoken about it, but it's Christ.
I've played Crosscode for about I played it for probably about 10 hours and made literally no progress, and it was absolutely like doing my head in. I could not understand why this game appeared to be like so long, and why I wasn't making
enormous.
And I am obviously wrong. People love that game. And it was fun to play, but I just could not get my head around like what it was like, how much it was asking me to do just to make tiny amounts of progress.
Tunic and Crosscode, both I think within, whether it's explicitly within the menus or through the entry of a cheat code that is available to you for one way or another, give you the opportunity to dial down the difficulty for particularly tough parts. I did on both Crosscode and Tunic. I did that to get past some bits that I knew I was not going to be able to do with the kind of the level of skill that I had there. That was there in Silksong. I can think of 2 or 3 things where I would have done it just to be like, I just want to play the rest of the game. Can we just get on with this? But they offer no option for that. There is no difficulty slider. There is no make this easy for me, please button.
Do you think there should be?
No, I don't. As I said, it's a confident decision. There are plenty of other games, probably by their peers, and games that would be described as kind of parallels to Hollow Knight that use that decision. And I feel like it's a conscious decision that they didn't, and I respect that. It's like I say, it's our travails, our suffering make us better at the game, and maybe games as a whole overall.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I used I used like infinite stamina, I think, in Tunic, and I was talking about this with Margot in Another Crab's Treasure. I used a couple of the accessibility options there, but I don't want them in Silksong. And again, I spoke about this with Margot. If you talk about this, you're sailing dangerously close to like the get good kind of mindset.
Yeah.
But I don't think I want it in Silksong. And what kind of changed my feelings on that, I remember really struggling with a particular area in Celeste, and I thought, okay, fine, I'll turn on the assist mode, and it has a little spiel if you go to turn on the assist mode where it says, if you want to do this, that's fine, but please, we have designed this game for you to beat it. You can do it. It also tells you like, these things won't count.
So they use the emotional blackmail method rather than the pointing and laughing methods for turning it on.
But they do point out, they say like, we have designed this to be playable by everyone, and there are certain design choices in Celeste. There's like I watched a video about it, about how they're actually quite generous like with the spike detection. But anyway, and I was like, fine, and I didn't turn the assist mode on and like finish the game, and it's like that was a changing relationship with difficulty kind of moment in my time with games, and I think that's what I come to with Silksong. Like I want to meet it at its level, no matter how horrible it feels. I feel like it's doable, and I feel like the game is telling you that it is doable.
We may be singing a very different tune when we're both stuck on the end of Act 3.
I know,
and it turns out we're well into our 40s at this stage. But who knows?
in 5 years' time, when I'm still in Act 2, I'll be singing a different song. Cool. That's difficulty. Yeah, it's hard, but it's fair.
It's hard, but it's fair. Yeah, and it's enjoyable, sort of, as well. It's enjoyable when it's enjoyable when you get over the hump. Yeah,
we're making big points here. It's hard, but it's fair, and that's much like life. There we go. We got it. We'll start bringing this to a close now. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but where do you want it to go from the point you're at the moment? Like, what do you want to get out of this game?
I want to kill God, Andrew. I want to kill God.
Sure. Cool,
I don't have any great desires or expectations of it, because I trust Team Cherry to have designed a game that will take me on a journey that I enjoy, whatever. I've sunk enough hours into Hollow Knight to trust them, and everything that goes through Silksong so far suggests that wherever Team Cherry want to take me on this, I am happy to go, and I am going to be hopefully surprised and delighted along the way. There's definitely speculation around the story. I have kind of things and theories, but again, the very fact that we don't even know when the game is set, and is this a Hornet as a protagonist that we've already met, or are we seeing some sort of previously on the Amazing Adventures of Hornet kind of episode going on? I'm fine with that. That's the sort of mystery I want. And I think some of that mystery, I do like games, books, TV shows, any type of media or art that does its best to kind of keep the big reveal from happening, until fairly. I like to be kept guessing until the sort of some of the last minute. It's why, like, I think, say, the first season of Lost is one of the sort of greatest stories ever told on television, because you've no idea what's going on. It's not so good when you watch it the second time round, because you know what it is. But that first run through, I was like, this is great. This is completely unexplainable. So much theorizing, and as long as Team Cherry do kind of, sort of bit of misdirection and keep that mystery going and keep me guessing, that's what I want out of it, really.
And let's close with some ridiculous and wild speculation. That this sort of thing shouldn't be asked. We shouldn't be thinking about what's next, but we are going to anyway. Where do Team Cherry go from here? What do they do next? Do they do you see a third game in this world?
Oh, let's go
something entirely different.
Yeah, let's go for a Hollow Knight themed hero extraction shooter.
Nice.
Let's just
that's the one.
Let's all play as a Hornet or a Knight or a Pale King or whatever, and go down in teams of 3 and try and, I don't know. Whatever they do, I'm happy to wait for it. It mystified me why there wasn't, particularly for developers who were so, by all accounts, kind of open about what they were doing with Hollow Knight during the development. Now, for the 7 years to be mostly radio silence, it did mystify me, and it did make me wonder, like, is this a George R.R. Martin or a Pratchett Rothfuss thing where the silence isn't just them kind of scribbling away in it? They genuinely don't know what they're how to. Hollow Knight was a one-time thing, and they don't know how to surpass that. Well, apparently not, because we're all playing the evidence in front of us. So whatever they do, I'm perfectly happy for them to be pretty quiet about it, and for me to happily go on playing all the other wonderful games out there in the world for us all to discover. Which, if that's a third game, great. If they feel like they've told all the stories that they want to, or they want to do, some silly little puzzle game that takes like a year of development time, but ends up being like the next Balatro because they've just got the magic touch, then I'm happy with that too. Let's just see. What do you want next? Do you want a third game? Do you want a Hollow Knight trilogy, or do you just want to see them do something different and see where we go from there?
I really value the fact and appreciate the fact that they took 7 years to do this. That they put everything into this.
Oh yeah.
When they could, they could have put something out after 2 or 3 years and capitalized on the moment. Like this, there's a weird thing to say in terms of indie games. These are relatively small things. But they could have done that. They didn't. That makes me confident in that whatever they do, whether it's even something that I like or not, it will be something that they like. And I think that's important. For it, that's important in any work, in anything you do. As long as it's true to what you want, that's the most important thing. Whether other people find value in it or not, that's another matter entirely. As long as it's true to you, that's the most valuable thing. And I trust that they will do something that is valuable to them, whatever that might be. And to make a less lofty point, I would love some more Hollow Knight. I would love some more games like this. They have promised DLC. Give me a Sherma spin-off. Maybe Sherma rhythm game.
Sherma! Oh god, I hope it ends well for her. But I've played Hollow Knight.
I think that is a good point at which to draw this to a close. Sean, thank you so much for joining me on the show. It has been an absolute delight to talk to you and hear your opinions on and thoughts on Hollow Knight and Silksong. Would you like to plug any work or anything you do on the internet for anyone listening?
For someone with an ever-diminishing social media profile and no online work to speak of, nothing to plug other than to say thank you for having me on the show, and I'm always happy to come back if you want to talk about your experiences with whatever that game that you hadn't played before or that I hadn't played. Celeste, if you ever do that, Celeste, and you want to Celeste, ingenue, virgin, whatever, to go in and say, why did you do this to me, Andrew? Why did you turn the table somewhat?
It's a date, my friend. Or 7 years for Hollow Knight 3, Sherma's Revenge. I'll see you there. Sean, thanks again. That was Margot, John, and Sean. My thanks to all of them. This episode doesn't exist without their time or their insights, and if you've enjoyed it, they are the reason why. I encourage you to check out their work online, and links to everything you need to do so are in the show notes. 3 players, 3 perspectives, but several consistent points. These players are all facing the hardships head on, and all have different reasons to push on. The importance of community, and the importance of knowing when to take a step back and lean on that community for support. Finally, that this game feels like something special. Mean, unforgiving, punishing, hostile, mysterious, alluring, exciting, and fair. Silksong is all of these things, and probably more. There's no full stop yet, and there won't be for a while. The expanded audience for this game will be writing its story for years to come. The question for the people finding it too mean, too punishing is the destination worth the journey? Is it worth the hardships, the frustrations, the occasional bout of hopelessness and the thrown controllers? And it's in keeping with the game's search for answers that my response is, I don't know, but I hope so. I'm carrying on Hornet's journey for all the reasons we've covered here. Every aspect of this game feels special in a really rare kind of way. The game offers a wealth of enjoyment beyond the headlines about difficulty, and I hope this show has spoken to these. Movement, combat, art, sound, all of these elements are of an incredibly high quality. But there is something else. At various points in Silksong, you are asked to help. You help individuals, you rebuild communities. Now, this is not a new mechanic at all, but here, in such a harsh and uncompromising world, it stands out. Rebuilding is part of how you learn, part of the story, part of the journey. The rebuilding speaks to a humanity this game possesses that I feel other games this challenging, including its predecessor, don't. This game has hope, and that gives me hope that I can continue Hornet's journey, that I can help these bugs as best I can, that I can meet this game at the level that it's pitched at. I want to see as much of this game as I can, and I hope, well, I think, the climb will be worth it. Onwards and upwards. Thanks for listening. You can find a link to the show notes in the episode description. The artwork for Dialogue Tree was produced by Pixel Benny, and you can find the show online at dialoguetree.cc. Talk to you next time.